I know what you're thinking. Jim, come on now. Nothing changes overnight. You're partially right. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a fortune, a career, or a life of significance. But what if I told you that there is one habit that, when adopted, begins producing dividends immediately? A habit that, from the very first day, starts to compound and grow like money well invested. That habit is taking responsibility for your life. Complete, unequivocal responsibility. No exceptions, no excuses, no blame. Let me tell you why this one habit is so powerful that it will begin changing your life from the very first day you adopt it. The fundamental shift. You see, most people live their entire lives in reaction mode. Something happens and they react. Their boss criticizes them and they get defensive. The economy takes a downturn and they panic. Their spouse says something hurtful and they retreat or lash out. They are like leaves in the wind, blown about by circumstances beyond their control. But what if, starting tonight, you decided that you and you alone are responsible for everything in your life? Your successes and your failures, your happiness and your misery, your wealth and your poverty, your health and your sickness, everything? This is not about blame. This is about power. When you take responsibility, you take back your power. Consider this. If you believe that your current circumstances are the result of the economy or your upbringing or your boss or your spouse or anything else outside yourself, then you are powerless to change those circumstances unless those external factors change first. You've surrendered control of your life to forces beyond your influence. But the very moment you accept that you are responsible for your life, something miraculous happens. You become the author of your own story. You move from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. You transform from being acted upon to being an actor. And this shift happens instantly. Not over time, but in the space of a decision. It's like flipping a switch that turns on the lights in a dark room. The room doesn't gradually become illuminated. It fills with light the moment the switch is flipped. The anatomy of responsibility. Now, let's break down what taking responsibility actually means in practice, because this isn't just philosophical talk. This is practical wisdom for living a better life starting tomorrow morning. Taking responsibility means understanding a simple but profound equation. ERO. Event plus response equals outcome. The events in your life are often outside your control. They are what they are, but your response to those events is entirely within your control. And it is your response, not the event itself, that determines the outcome. Let me give you a simple example. Two people get laid off from their job, same event. The first person responds by blaming the company, complaining to anyone who will listen, and half-heartedly sending out a few resumes. The second person responds by taking stock of their skills, networking aggressively, learning new abilities that are in demand, and approaching their job search with discipline and determination. Same event, different responses, dramatically different outcomes. Starting tonight, I want you to begin examining every situation in your life through this lens. Ask yourself, what's my response going to be? And what outcome will that response create? This is taking responsibility in its most practical form. The language of responsibility. One of the immediate changes you'll notice when you adopt this habit is how your language transforms. The words we use shape our reality and reveal our mindset. People who don't take responsibility say things like, I have to, I can't. If only I had no choice. It's not my fault. I'll try. But people who take responsibility say, I choose to. I will. I create. I'm responsible for. I'm committed to. I'll do it. Starting tonight, I want you to begin catching yourself when you use the language of victimhood and consciously shift to the language of responsibility. If you find yourself saying, I have to go to work tomorrow, stop and correct yourself. I choose to go to work tomorrow because I value financial security and fulfilling my commitments. If you catch yourself thinking, I can't afford that, reframe it. I'm choosing not to prioritize that purchase right now. If you hear yourself lamenting, if only my spouse were more supportive, challenge that thought. How can I better communicate my needs and create the support I desire? This shift in language isn't just semantic gymnastics. It represents a fundamental change in how you view your relationship with the world. And remarkably, this change can begin tonight with immediate effects tomorrow. The responsibility of choice. At the heart of taking responsibility is recognizing that you are always choosing. Always, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when the options aren't ideal, you're still choosing. You choose your thoughts. You choose your attitudes. You choose your actions. You choose your reactions. You choose what you focus on. You choose what meaning you give to events. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps, wrote that everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. If a man in a concentration camp can choose his attitude, what excuse do any of us have? Starting tonight, I want you to begin seeing every moment as a choice point. When you wake up tomorrow morning, you're making a choice about how to start your day. When you interact with your family, you're choosing your words and tone. When you arrive at work, you're choosing your level of engagement and enthusiasm. Most people sleepwalk through these choices. They let habit and circumstance dictate their responses. But not you. Not anymore. Starting tonight, you become conscious of your choices. You become deliberate. You become responsible. And when you do this, when you really do this, your life begins to change immediately. Not because your circumstances change overnight, but because you relate to those circumstances differently. You engage with life as its master, not its victim. The responsibility for your mind. Now, let's talk about one of the most important areas to take responsibility for: your mind. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever seeds you plant and tend will grow. Plant seeds of negativity, doubt, and fear, and that's what you'll harvest. Plant seeds of positivity, confidence, and courage, and your life will bloom accordingly. Most people don't take responsibility for what goes on in their minds. They let in whatever thoughts happen to wander by. They consume whatever media catches their attention. They engage in whatever conversations come their way. And then they wonder why they feel anxious or depressed or unmotivated. Starting tonight, I want you to take full responsibility for what you allow into your mind and what you focus on. Be selective about what you read, watch, and listen to. Choose carefully who you spend time with and what you talk about. Monitor your internal dialogue and redirect negative thoughts toward constructive ones. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or living in denial. It means approaching challenges from a position of responsibility rather than reactivity. It means asking, what can I do about this, rather than why is this happening to me? When you take responsibility for your mind, you'll wake up tomorrow with a different perspective. The world won't have changed, but your way of seeing it will have, and that makes all the difference. The responsibility for your emotions. Another critical area to take responsibility for is your emotional life. Most people believe that their emotions happen to them. Someone says something unkind and they feel hurt. They don't get a promotion and they feel disappointed. The stock market drops and they feel anxious. But here's a truth that can liberate you. Your emotions are not caused by external events. They are caused by your thoughts about those events. Between the event and your emotion is your interpretation. Change the interpretation and you change the emotion. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending not to feel. It means recognizing that you have a choice in how you interpret events and therefore a choice in how you feel about them. Starting tonight, whenever you experience a negative emotion, pause and ask yourself, what am I telling myself about this situation that's making me feel this way? Is this interpretation helpful? Is it even true? What would be a more empowering way to look at this? When you wake up tomorrow and practice this habit, you'll find yourself less reactive, more centered, and more in control of your emotional experience. This doesn't mean you'll never feel negative emotions again. It means you'll relate to those emotions differently as signals to examine your thinking, not as inevitable reactions to be endured. The responsibility for your health. Let's talk about taking responsibility for your physical well-being. Many people treat their health as something that happens to them. They get sick, they gain weight, they feel tired, as if these conditions descend upon them through no fault of their own. But your health is largely determined by your daily choices, what you eat, whether you exercise, how much you sleep, how you manage stress. These choices compound over time to create your physical reality. Starting tonight, I want you to take complete responsibility for your health. This means no more blaming your metabolism or your genetics or your busy schedule. It means recognizing that every bite of food you take is a choice. Every workout you do or skip is a choice. Every hour of sleep you get or miss is a choice. When you wake up tomorrow and approach your health from this perspective, you'll make different decisions. Maybe you'll choose a nutritious breakfast instead of a sugary one. Maybe you'll take the stairs instead of the elevator. Maybe you'll go to bed a little earlier. Each of these choices may seem small, but they reflect a fundamental shift in how you view your relationship with your body. You're no longer a passive recipient of health or illness. You're the active creator of your physical well-being. The responsibility for your relationships. Another area where taking responsibility creates immediate changes in your relationships. Most relationship problems stem from a fundamental abdication of responsibility. If only my partner would, my boss doesn't appreciate me, my kids don't listen. Notice how all of these statements place the responsibility for your happiness and satisfaction on someone else. This is a recipe for misery. Starting tonight, I want you to take 100% responsibility for the quality of your relationships. This doesn't mean you control how others behave. It means you control how you respond to their behavior, what boundaries you set, how you communicate, and what you contribute. When you wake up tomorrow and interact with the important people in your life from this perspective, everything shifts. Instead of waiting for others to change, you change. Instead of focusing on what you're not getting, you focus on what you're not giving. Instead of blaming, you reflect. This shift in perspective transforms the dynamic of your relationships immediately. Not because the other person has changed overnight, but because you have. And when one person in a relationship changes their approach, the entire relationship changes. The responsibility for your career. Now, let's discuss taking responsibility for your professional life. Many people feel stuck in their careers. They believe they're undervalued, underpaid, or underutilized. They wait for someone to recognize their talents, give them an opportunity, or hand them a promotion. But your career, like every other aspect of your life, is your responsibility. Your skills, your contribution, your advancement, your satisfaction, all of these are within your control. Starting tonight, I want you to take complete ownership of your professional development. This means no more waiting to be chosen. No more expecting others to define your path. No more blaming market conditions or office politics. When you wake up tomorrow and go to work with this mindset, you'll approach your job differently. You'll seek out challenges rather than avoid them. You'll ask for feedback rather than fear it. You'll develop skills proactively rather than reactively. You'll solve problems instead of complaining about them. This shift from passive employee to active career manager happens in an instant the moment you decide that your professional growth is too important to leave in someone else's hands. The responsibility for your finances. Let's talk about money. Financial struggles are a major source of stress for many people. They feel overwhelmed by debt, constrained by limited income, and anxious about the future. And too often they blame factors beyond their control, the economy, their employer, the cost of living. But your financial situation, like everything else we've discussed, is largely a result of your choices. How much you earn, how much you spend, how much you save, how much you invest. These are all decisions that you make, consciously or unconsciously. Starting tonight, I want you to take full responsibility for your financial well-being. This means no more blaming circumstances for your money problems, no more living beyond your means and wondering why you're stressed, no more avoiding financial education because it seems confusing or boring. When you wake up tomorrow and approach your finances from this perspective, you'll make different choices. Maybe you'll track your spending more carefully. Maybe you'll have a conversation about money that you've been avoiding. Maybe you'll start researching ways to increase your income or reduce your expenses. Each of these actions reflects a fundamental shift from financial victim to financial steward. You're no longer at the mercy of your money circumstances. You're the architect of your financial future. The responsibility for your time. Now, let's discuss one of your most precious resources, time. Many people feel that they don't have enough time. They're too busy, too scheduled, too overwhelmed. They blame their jobs, their families, their commitments for their lack of time for what truly matters. But here's the truth. We all have exactly the same amount of time minus 24 hours in a day. The difference is in how we choose to use that time. Starting tonight, I want you to take absolute responsibility for how you spend your time. This means recognizing that you're not too busy, you've just made certain activities a priority over others. It means acknowledging that saying, I don't have time is really saying that's not important enough to me right now. When you wake up tomorrow and approach your day from this perspective, you'll make different choices about how you spend your hours. You might say no to activities that don't align with your values. You might delegate tasks that others could do. You might eliminate time wasters that provide little return on investment. This shift from time victim to time master happens the moment you accept that your schedule is not something that happens to you, it's something you create. The responsibility for your legacy. Let's zoom out and talk about the bigger picture of your legacy. What mark will you leave on the world? How will you be remembered? What difference will your life make? Many people never consider these questions. They're so caught up in the day-to-day that they never step back to consider the overall arc of their lives. And then one day they look back and wonder where the time went and what it all amounted to. Starting tonight, I want you to take responsibility for your legacy. This means living with intention and purpose. It means making choices not just based on immediate gratification, but on long-term impact. It means considering not just what feels good now, but what will matter in the end. When you wake up tomorrow and approach your day with this mindset, your decisions will take on new significance. You'll prioritize differently. You'll invest your time and energy in things that have lasting value. You'll begin building something that extends beyond your immediate circumstances. This shift from living by default to living by design transforms not just your tomorrow, but all your tomorrows to come. The challenge of responsibility. Now, I want to be clear about something. Taking responsibility isn't easy. In fact, it's one of the most difficult things you'll ever do. It's much simpler to blame others, make excuses, or play the victim. That's the path of least resistance. Taking responsibility means looking in the mirror and acknowledging your part in creating your current reality. It means giving up the comfort of blaming others. It means facing the uncomfortable truth that if you want something different, you must become someone different. It takes courage to say, this is on me. It takes strength to say, I created this and I can create something else. It takes humility to say, I've been wrong and I need to change. But here's what you need to understand. The difficulty of taking responsibility is precisely what makes it so powerful. If it were easy, everyone would do it. The fact that most people avoid it is exactly why it gives you such an advantage. While others are waiting for their circumstances to change, you'll be changing your circumstances. While others are blaming the world for their problems, you'll be solving your problems. While others are wishing for a better life, you'll be building one. The moment of decision. So here we are at the crossroads. Before you is a choice, perhaps the most important choice you'll ever make. Will you continue as you have been, reacting to life and hoping things improve? Or will you take the reins of your existence and direct it deliberately toward what you desire? The habit of taking responsibility doesn't develop gradually. It begins with a decision, a commitment, a line drawn in the sand that says, from this moment forward, I am responsible for my life. That decision can be made right now, tonight. And when you wake up tomorrow, you will be different. Not because your circumstances have changed overnight, but because you have changed how you relate to those circumstances. Your job may still be challenging, but you'll approach it as an opportunity rather than a burden. Your relationships may still have conflicts, but you'll see them as chances to grow rather than problems to endure. Your finances may still be tight, but you'll view them as situations to manage rather than limitations to accept. The external world won't have transformed, but your internal world will have, and from that internal transformation, all external changes begin. The practical application. Let me give you some concrete steps to implement this habit starting tonight. First, conduct a responsibility audit. Take a piece of paper and write down the major areas of your life: career, finances, health, relationships, personal growth, etc. For each area, ask yourself honestly, am I taking full responsibility here, or am I blaming, complaining, or making excuses? Be brutally honest with yourself. Second, change your language. Make a conscious effort to eliminate victim phrases from your vocabulary. Replace I have to with I choose to. Replace I can't with I won't or I don't want to. Replace if only with next time. This simple linguistic shift will begin to rewire your brain. Third, start a responsibility journal. Each evening, write down one situation from the day and how you took responsibility for it. If you notice areas where you failed to take responsibility, don't beat yourself up, just note how you could handle it differently next time. Fourth, seek feedback. Ask people you trust to point out when you're playing the victim or making excuses. Often others can see our blind spots more clearly than we can. Fifth, practice the pause. Whenever you feel yourself reacting negatively to a situation, pause. Take a deep breath. Then ask yourself, how am I responsible for this? What can I do about it? This simple practice interrupts the automatic blame response and redirects your mind toward responsibility. The compounding effect. Now, I want to be very clear about something. While the habit of taking responsibility begins to change your life immediately, its full effects compound over time. Think about it like interest on an investment. When you first invest a sum of money, the interest you earn may seem small. But as that interest gets added to your principal and begins earning interest itself, your wealth grows exponentially. The habit of responsibility works the same way. On day one, you might make slightly better choices. Those choices lead to slightly better results. Those results give you slightly more confidence and resources. That confidence and those resources enable you to make even better choices. And on it goes, compounding day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. After a day of taking responsibility, your life might be a little better. After a week, the improvement will be noticeable. After a month, significant. After a year, dramatic. After a decade, extraordinary. This is the miracle of compounding applied to personal development. Small changes consistently applied yield massive results over time. The ripple effect. There's another dimension to this habit that I want you to understand. When you take responsibility for your life, you don't just change your own experience, you change the world around you. Think about it. When you stop blaming others, you create space for better relationships. When you focus on solutions rather than problems, you inspire those around you to do the same. When you take initiative rather than waiting for permission, you demonstrate what's possible to those who are still stuck. Your commitment to responsibility creates a ripple effect that extends far beyond your personal circumstances. It influences your family, your workplace, your community. It sets a standard. It establishes a model. It offers inspiration. In a world where so many people feel powerless, your example of personal responsibility shines like a beacon. It shows others what's possible when we stop making excuses and start making changes. This is perhaps the most profound impact of this habit, not just what it does for you, but what it does through you. The ultimate freedom. As we near the end of our time together, I want to share what I consider to be the ultimate gift of taking responsibility: freedom. Most people associate freedom with a lack of constraints. They think freedom means being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want. But true freedom is more nuanced than that. True freedom comes not from the absence of constraints, but from the presence of choice within those constraints. It comes from recognizing that regardless of your circumstances, you always have the power to choose your response. And in that choice lies your freedom. When you take responsibility for your life, you free yourself from the prison of blame. You free yourself from the limitation of excuses. You free yourself from the paralysis of victimhood. You become, perhaps for the first time, truly free to create the life you desire. This freedom doesn't depend on your bank account or your job title or your relationship status or any other external factor. It depends solely on your willingness to take responsibility. It is available to you right now, tonight, if you choose to claim it. The invitation. So here is my invitation to you. Starting tonight, take complete 100% responsibility for your life. All of it. The good, the bad, everything in between. Stop blaming others for your problems. Stop making excuses for your shortcomings. Stop waiting for circumstances to change before you do. Instead, own your reality. Embrace your power. Accept that while you may not control everything that happens to you, you always control how you respond. This one habit, just this one, will begin to transform your life overnight. Not because it's magic, but because it's the foundation upon which all other positive changes are built. Without responsibility, nothing improves. With responsibility, anything is possible. The choice is yours. It always has been. The decision. Ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about many things today. We've explored what it means to take responsibility for your life. We've examined how this habit applies to every area of your existence, your mind, your emotions, your health, your relationships, your career, your finances, your time, and your legacy. We've discussed the challenges of responsibility and the freedom it brings. But all of this information is worthless unless you make a decision. Knowledge without action is merely philosophy, and while philosophy has its place, it doesn't change lives. Decisions change lives. So right now in this moment, I'm asking you to make a decision. Will you continue as you have been, or will you take the reins of your life starting tonight? Will you wake up tomorrow as a victim of circumstances, author of your own story? Will you spend your days reacting to what happens to you or creating what happens through you? The choice is yours. It always has been, and it always will be. Choose wisely. Because your life, the one you've been given and the one you're creating, is far too precious to spend it waiting for someone else to make it better. Take responsibility, starting tonight, and watch as your world begins to transform, one choice at a time, beginning tomorrow morning. Thank you.